Welcome, everyone. My name is Blair Pacheco. Now, my guest today, every opportunity, every challenge they get, they knock it out of the park. When you hear their entrance music hit and it gets to the chorus and it says, "Who gonna stop me now?" you realize that nobody is going to stop them. Joining me today, HYAN. HYAN, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing so good. I'm so excited for this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big weekend coming up. Very stoked for it. You're making your debut in Canada.
Yes,
Um, it's just another thing that you're able to knock off. Like 2025 so far for you has been pretty incredible.
it has. And it's so crazy because I live in North America, and
Mhm.
I've been to, you know, the UK, Germany, Netherlands, Japan, but I've never been to Canada, which is literally our neighbor. So I'm so excited for that.
Do you like, I mean, I know it's only Canada, but do you get the same excitement knowing that you're going to go to Canada as you would like the first time you go to Japan?
Yes, because it's just so I think wrestling is really cool in that it allows you to see the world and meet different people. Um, and it's just like another thing that like when I'm an 80-year old woman, I can be like, yeah, I've been to Canada, I've been to Japan, I've been to these places, and I can feel like I've lived a life.
Mhm.
And I'm just really excited to go because again, like I know so many people that have been to Canada, and I just haven't had the chance to. So I'm really excited that I get to add that to the countries that I've been able to wrestle at and, see another kind of wrestling because I feel like every place, even within the United States, everyone kind of has their own take on pro wrestling.
Mhm. It's very true. It doesn't matter, different territories almost. You still get that sort of vibe.
Mhm.
Um, Now, I wanted to ask. I mean, a few weeks back, I mentioned it off air, but your match at Deadlock Pro, no pressure. Your feud with
Mhm.
Dani Luna has been absolutely incredible. The street fight match. You heard commentary at the end say like this is a match of the year contender, and we're in it was February when it happened. What's it like being a part of a feud like that expands months and that you guys are really able to put some work into it while still being on the independent level?
It's super cool. And shout out Deadlock because not a lot of companies put that much effort into, especially on the independents, put that much effort into a story with women.
Mhm.
And I feel like that show specifically was about the women because it opened up with a promo of me on the phone and then it ends with us in the main event and then me cutting a promo again at the end, for us to set up for a match that a dog collar match doesn't really happen on the independents.
No.
And then to add the fact that it's like with women and it's me and Dani and it's going to be the big, hopefully, blow off. I don't know what other stipulation we have left, but so it's really cool, but it also creates a lot of pressure because now we have to top the other one, the last thing we did, and we have to keep topping it and topping it. So it really challenges your creativity,
Mhm.
but Dani Luna is awesome and Deadlock's giving us the platform. So it's like, yeah, let's just go all out.
Did you guys know that you would be main eventing the show before
No,
before you got there? No? Okay.
no, I was actually, I was actually politicking to be like, can we be on the pre-show? I was like, can we be the main event of the pre-show? Can we be the main event of the first half of the show before intermission? And they're like, no, 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 you're last. And I was like, oh, shit. This is so much pressure. I know it's my first time main eventing a Deadlock show.
Mhm.
So it was Gringo Loco was there and he saw me like literally pacing back and forth, back and forth. He's like, it's gonna be okay, you're gonna do
Mhm.
great. But I was so nervous.
I mean, like the fact that you guys were able to main event, it really puts a stamp on the feud that you guys have done up to this point. And I mean, the match itself, there's stuff in that match that like you guys were very creative with it, like with spots that like I don't recall seeing them before, and you see it's like, holy shit, that was really cool. Like you guys did a
Yeah.
great job.
Yeah. And I was saying too, because it's like AEW has done a really good job of like their women when they do street fights, they go all out. Like I just think of Willow and Statlander. And so in my brain, that's the standard now for women and for like those kinds of matches with women. So the fans have seen something great. Now we have to deliver something equally as great because they've like, I never want to do a disservice to women's wrestling. And so I want to be able to show out and not just show out and be the main event, but also be better than the guys, you know? Yeah. And it's really cool because especially that show, because we had grizzled young vets and then Kozone and Luke Jacobs, and they absolutely killed it. And I remember hearing the reactions to their match before we go out. And I was like, oh my God, we're going to have to top that. We're going to have to top that. How are we going to top that? And then also in the back of my head, knowing exactly what we're going into and also being like, God, I hope I don't die. I hope I don't die. I hope I don't die.
There was a couple spots where like you see the chairs getting set up and I'm like, oh, this is not going to be good. And I think it was a power bomb off the top and I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I've never done that. I've never done like gone for like a Frankensteiner off the top rope. I've never done that before. I've never taken a power bomb from the top rope. So all new experiences.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Right. And I knew it was going crazy because from when she was picking me up from the powerbomb, I could see over on the balcony where the locker room is and where the commentators are at and all the wrestlers are at. And I see them all standing on the balcony like this. And I went, oh, this looks crazy. Because I was like, I'm in it. I can't really see it. So I was looking at their reactions. I was like, oh, this is going to be so insane.
Well, last year, I mean, you made a return to Japan. You got to go over there with Marvelous, work some shows there. That was your second time in Japan, correct? I mean, it had been a few years since the first time. So how did that differ from the first time you went? Did you feel you were more, I don't want to say prepared, but like more in tune with it?
Yes, I felt so. It was like so I was there in 2019 was the first time. And I got to the house in the dojo and everything was the same. Everything was the same. Even the house smelled the same. And I was like, kind of felt like, it was just a weird thing. I just felt like I went back to 2019. But being there the second time, obviously you're accustomed to the culture a little bit more. You know what to expect when it comes to matches. You know what to expect when it comes to training. And I felt like I was able to really put out some of my best work there because again, you don't really have that like too much of a learning period as opposed to the first time where you're still kind of adjusting and calling a match in a different language. And now it's like, okay, I know all your moves. You know my moves. We've wrestled before. I know exactly how this works. And we can just go, 10 out of 10 speed. Because the first time I was there, I didn't get the opportunity to main event any shows, which I honestly shouldn't have because I was still so very new. But this time around, I got to main event like 2 or 3 shows with Marvelous. So it was just cool to have that growth. And obviously, like Chigusa having that confidence in me to have like these kinds of matches, to put me in a title match, to put me in the main event multiple times. It's really cool to see that I've grown and she sees that and she trusts that in me.
Is this, I mean, we will see a return to Japan at some point, I hope.
I hope.
Like, because there's still, a lot of great wrestlers there that I need to see you wrestle. So
honestly, if I was able to get like a year-long visa and they're like, do you want to just come for a year? I would just go. I would just do it.
I don't blame you. I mean, the experience alone would be worth it. Just learn so much being over there.
It's awesome.
Okay, now I have to ask because last year, West Coast Pro, Queen of the Indies, I flew down there for it. I traveled from Winnipeg, Manitoba. I flew down there. It was an incredible show. Your match with Maya World, I will hype that up to this day because you two set the tone for the entire show, and it was the first match. It was incredible.
Oh yeah, it's so cool. It's so funny because like we're both Texas girls. We've never wrestled each other. And the first time we wrestled was in California. So it was really like, it is really cool to see girls from Texas get out there, because it is really hard to get out of our state and make a name for yourself. So it's cool to do that on that stage and then us kill it. Because I was like super excited to wrestle Maya. Like I was thinking, I had like all these ideas going into it, and I remember when I spoke to her, I was like, I have all these ideas. You can tell me no. I was like, but I have a lot of ideas. And she was like, cool. And I would tell her, like, you can say no. Like, you're allowed to say no. And she's like, no, I like everything. I was like, okay, are you sure? Because I afterwards, I was like, did you like the match? Because I know I came at you with all this stuff. And she was like, no, I really liked it. It was so much fun. So I'm always happy when other people like their matches with me too.
Because with wrestling, there's so much, like, it's so easy just to like kind of take control of it and be like, hey, let's do this, but you want to make sure the other person's like heard as well. Like, so there's both the equal input. So it can be a little daunting in that aspect.
Yeah. That's why I always try to ask people, I'm like, you can say no. Like, you're allowed to say no. You're not going to offend me if you're like, I don't want to do that, or that's dumb. Just tell me why it's dumb, and we'll go from there. But I always try to keep it like open. I never want it to be like my way or the highway type thing.
With a show like that, I mean, you had wrestlers from, I mean, all across the States. You had legends there, like just people at different points in their career. What's it like being a part of a locker room like that, being a part of a show like that?
It is a situation in which I feel like everyone is tested to really show what you're made of in those kinds of situations. Because again, depending on where you are in the bracket, right? Like sometimes you're wrestling people that, don't speak your language, which happened to me, or it happened in the second round in the tag match where one person didn't speak English and I'm having to translate everything from English to Spanish. But my Spanish isn't like, I don't know wrestling terms in Spanish because they're not part of my daily conversation. So it's a little bit harder to translate. And when you're wrestling 3 matches in a row, like on one show, and it's not like you get, like, whenever I got there, I didn't know I was winning. I figured it out as we went on. So it's really having to come up with ideas really quickly, and sometimes not even being able to discuss a lot with your opponent because we have a time crunch, and just having to like look at each other and read each other's body language and be like, okay, I think they're going for this. And I know we talked about this, and kind of just go with the flow a little bit. That was a lot of my match with Masha where, she didn't know she was going to the finals. I didn't know I was winning. And it just like, okay, we're going to do this here. We're going to do this, and we're going to do that. We're going to do this. And then our music plays and we go, all right, see you out there, man.
It's go time. We're out there.
It's go time. Yeah.
I mean, you've been wrestling for a little bit now, but when you get a tournament like this, a show like that with the Queen of the Indies, like when you see how far wrestling has come since when you first started, what does something like that mean to you? And even like going forward when it comes to wrestling and women involved with wrestling?
I think it's awesome because as time's gone on, I see that the bar of what's acceptable for women's wrestling has gone up higher and higher and higher. There's more expectations. The matches have to be this certain way. When I first started, like, women were getting 5-minute matches, and women weren't main eventing, and there were no established women tag teams or anything like that. And so now we're in situations where like girls are going hard, and girls are even outshining the guys in certain aspects. And the higher that the bar is raised, it forces everyone to meet it. And that's how everyone gets better, right? Yep. So if you keep the bar low, everyone's going to stay low. Keep the bar high, everyone rises to meet it. And I've definitely seen that as time gone on. And I think that's really awesome because it's hard being a female wrestler in this like industry. A lot of people like the guys, they have opportunities to wrestle people like Ishii, like at Prestige, or Kenta, or Will Ospreay, or Zack Sabre Jr., or Alex Shelley. Like, you have those types of like guys that are available to have matches with and learn from. And it's hard to find the equivalent of that in like the females and the women, right? Yeah. So it's still trying to build that, still trying to get to that level. And I'm just happy to be a part of it.
Hell yeah. Now, I mean, March 7th, you're making your not only LPW debut, your Canadian debut. Mm-hmm. I'm very excited. I can't wait to watch it. But I mean, when it's all like, as soon as you step off the plane, you're on mm-hmm. Canadian soil. What's the first thing you're going to do? What sort of like Canadian thing do you have your eyes set on?
So I'm still trying to figure it out. So I actually do. I get magnets from every place I wrestle at. Mm-hmm. Like if it's a new state or like a new country, I always try to get a magnet. And so like my refrigerator is just full of like magnets from all these different states. And so I need to get a magnet. That's first and foremost, because it's part of my collection. And I just want to get the most obnoxious Canadian souvenirs. And I have to bring back my mom something. I'm not really sure what, but she's never been to Canada either. So I have to do some research. Maybe I'll look on TikTok, like what's some super Canadian stuff that, so someone told me, I was like, you should go Bret Hart hunting and just go around, just try to find Bret Hart.
You might as well.
And I was like, honestly, maybe.
Yeah, why not? At the very least, stop by the Hart House, you know?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I am very excited for you making your Canadian debut with LPW March 7th. I'm very stoked for it. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you taking the time to join me.